Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Home Rockstar Podcast. I'm excited for today's episode. We have a chief visionary officer from Wellnesse, and what he does is he helps to create healthy, non-toxic personal care products that work better than the conventional alternatives. So I'm really excited about this conversation. He's been self-employed, working from home for as long as I have. So this is going to be a wealth of information. So I'm excited to be talking with Seth Spears. Hey, Seth, are you ready to rock?
Hey Tim, let's go.
Let's do it. Tell me a story of success in your business or even in your life that we can be inspired by.
There's been so many over the years, so it's hard to pick just one. But within my current company, within Wellnesse, I think it took about a year, maybe just over a year from when we conceptualized the company to doing the product development, building the branding and everything to launch to when we actually launched the products. So, there's so many factors when you're starting a business. And I think that initial launch day, January 6th of 2020, when we published the website, took the products live, sent out an email to the list that we've been curating, and said, "Hey, we're live. You can now buy our toothpaste, shampoo, and conditioner." And just seeing those first sales come in, it's just so cool. When you take a product from idea and conceptualization into fulfillment where you actually have it in your hands, you can touch it and feel it, and then people actually want to give you money to buy it. There's nothing like it.
No. Yeah, that sounds so awesome. I've never actually developed a product before, so it would be so different to have an actual product sitting on a shelf going like, "This is mine. This is what I do," right?
Yeah. I mean, I've done that as well quite a bit over the years, where I ran a boutique digital marketing agency where we worked with clients to do website design and SEO and social media.
Mhm.
And so it was kind of the same when you're getting a big contract and you've got money coming in. But then also when you launch a new product for a client and then you see the growth that's happening and how they're increasing their sales. So, I mean, that's always great too.
Yeah. How do you decide when a product's ready to get out the door?
Well, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So it's really easy to wait too long to launch because you want everything right. As Seth Godin once said that real artists ship. And so if you're holding on till everything is perfect before you launch, then it's probably too late. You miss the opportunity because you're always going to get feedback. You're always going to iterate, and there is no perfect product. There's always going to be new technologies that come about. So to answer your question, I don't have a perfect answer for this because it's just when is it good enough? When is the minimum viable product enough that we can ship it, we can make sales, and we can get customer feedback and iterate from there. So
Yeah.
it's going to be different based on the product or the service and the company.
I think what you just said there about getting customer feedback, that's a big part of it too, right? Because I mean, if it was perfect, you wouldn't even need the customer feedback. Like you're actually asking them to tell you what you can do to improve it, right?
Yeah, very much so. And often what we think the customer wants and what they actually want can be different things. So unless you're Steve Jobs or Apple and the customer doesn't even know what they want, we have to show them, but you're creating something so entirely new and you have a massive marketing and advertising budget. That's a little different than most people who are starting something from scratch and don't have those huge pockets that they can dip into to really go massive with it.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful stuff because I know that especially for people who are creating courses or anything like that, I mean, if you spend all this time on this, product, this course, whatever it is, and then it turns out nobody wants it, like there's got to be some sort of halfway point where you can put something out there just to see if this is what people want, right?
Yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes in business over the years. I've had a lot of success as well. But one of the things that I've learned is it's always important to build an audience first so that you can test out your ideas and theories and build in public, if you will. So you can create an audience and you're either producing content that you're publishing for them, or talking about the products that you're creating, whatever the case may be, so that you can get feedback on it and
Hmm.
not just like launch into the dark without anybody knowing that it's there. Because I've done that, and that is typically not that successful. One of my friends and mentors who I've looked up to in the business world and the marketing world for a very long time is Brian Clark. He was the founder of Copyblogger, which is a very popular blog and website in marketing back in the mid late 2000s and early 2010s as well. And that was one of the things that he always preached was build an audience first. And then if you have enough raving fans, people that are really interested in what you're doing, they love the content you're putting out or what you're all about, you can sell to them. And then you can get feedback and iterate from there. I think that is one of the keys to starting off successfully and not just coming up with an idea and launching it and it's crickets because nobody knows that you actually hung up a shingle and are trying to sell something.
Hmm. So how do you build an audience?
Well, it depends on the industry. It depends on what you're doing. With social media, it's easier now than ever before. I typically tell when I'm consulting with other entrepreneurs or people that are starting something, I usually tell them to start by curating friends, family first, who they're going to be the ones that are most likely to support you starting off because they know you, they like you, they trust you, hopefully anyway. Start there. Maybe that's creating an email newsletter or a blog. You can also use comment marketing where you're commenting on other people's content, whether that's on social media, on different websites, on forums, and just engaging. And there's micro communities in every industry. So the more that you can become engaged in those communities, you start to get known and people they'll see you and like, oh, that's insightful, or he's making really good recommendations, or has a really interesting thought process around that. And so people want to know more about you. Who are you? What are you about? So they are more likely to follow you on social or go back to your site or things like that. And so it's a very organic process. At least that's how I've always done it.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. Today with social media, it's a totally different world. So much easier to create an audience as long as you put the work in. I think that's really what it comes down to is that it's no longer a situation of just throw more money at it. It's put the work in, right?
Yeah, definitely. My formula for success over the years has always been do the right things long enough consistently.
Yeah.
Does raise a lot of questions as far as what are the right things, how long, and what's consistency, because those are all going to be slightly different for each person and each business. But it's a good framework just to use as you progress in your business journey.
Right. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the bad notes. So sometimes things don't go as planned. I'm wondering, is there a big mistake that you made that we can maybe avoid or recover from?
Oh yeah, being careful with who you hire is so
Oh,
important. I made some mistakes in hiring over the years that were very detrimental, that really hurt the company, that almost bankrupted and turned it upside down. You got to inspect what you expect. So even if you hire someone who has a good pedigree, they have a great reputation and background, always inspect the work that they're doing to make sure that they're following through and doing what they say. Because if not, that can really come back to bite you. And then it's not just their reputation, it's your reputation. Because as the founder, as the owner, at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. And so you have to make sure that you are getting the work promised and that things are getting accomplished and that they're doing what they say that they're going to do. And so when you take your eye off the ball, that's when bad things start to happen and you get in trouble.
now, would you say that the hires were malicious in their intent, or do you think that they just were doing what they thought was right, but it just wasn't right?
It's a good question. And I don't want to try to make any assumptions about when that has happened before or to those people. I think everyone has different values. And then when there are things that come up and there's a values misalignment, they make decisions based on where they stand. And those might be different than yours. And so that's why hiring and making sure that there is a values alignment is so important. I'm a huge fan of taking personality tests to test and see what are the skill sets that person has? What are their values? What are they good at? What are their weaknesses? Because that can really help. And so that was something that I learned quite a bit early on, just making sure that there is an alignment there and how you want to run things.
Wow, that's awesome. The reason why I asked that, Seth, is because like I think that like people might make the mistake of going like, well, no, I really trust this person. This is a really good person. And then think that, everything's just gonna go well. But they don't have to be a bad person to not be doing the right things for your business.
Yeah, I mean, we all have different motivations. Some people, they're more intrinsically motivated, some are more extrinsically motivated. Some people, they love to work, others not so much.
Hmm.
And so we're all looking out for our own best interests at the end of the day, or what we think those are. And even if because you're not going to take a job if you're not going to make money. You're not going to go work for someone if you don't agree with what they're doing. So it's just that values alignment and making sure that you're on the same page and having regular check-ins and making sure that what they're saying that they're doing versus what they're doing are the same.
Because if the values are in alignment, then it's kind of like you're both going in the same direction with the same goal, which means that you're both doing exactly what you need to do for your own well-being, and it just happens to be a common goal, right?
Totally. And I think communication is so important there. We all have different communication styles. And I've learned this a lot, both in business and in relationships and friendships. What someone is saying and what you're hearing are very different. And so
Yeah,
we need to get clear on that is here's what I hear you're saying. Is that what you need? Is that accurate? And so just getting very clear with that. And that's not something that we learn like in school or from an early age. So that's something for me that I've had to learn the hard way.
yeah. And the regular checking in as well, because sometimes things change, sometimes goals change, sometimes circumstances change. And just because maybe you guys, you and your coworker had the same values and alignment when you first started, if you're not having that regular check-in, what happens if something changes and now they have a different value, right?
Yeah. I mean, when someone starts with a company and you're kind of in the same place and head in the same direction, and then maybe their financial situation changed and all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're struggling to pay rent or put food on the table. And then they make decisions that are, I would consider unethical or things like that. But if you have more communication, they tell you what's going on. And so you have a better dialogue and back and forth. And so then you can be a little bit more understanding and receptive of where they're at. And maybe some different accommodations need to be made. You can help them out, or they need to go somewhere else. I mean, who knows? But I think it's just having that clear, consistent, and open communication that facilitates a much better working relationship.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk a little bit about the tools. I know you're a tech guy as well, right? So I'm
Yeah.
wondering what do you use for tools regularly in your business
Mhm.
that are kind of game changers?
Yeah. So since we're an e-commerce company, we're selling online. These are going to be pretty specific to that. But Shopify is our platform that we sell on. I use G Suite. So for our email, for our documents, to share things. Also use Dropbox to back up files and folders and images and creative and things of that nature. Slack for team communication in there every day. We use a combination of different like project management software, it just depending on what aspect of the company. And so everything from ClickUp to Trello to Asana. And I wish that we were all using one and kind of being a little bit more consistent there, but that hasn't happened just yet. Though I'm really starting to use AI a lot more just for,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been playing around with a lot of different tools, everything from ChatGPT and Claude to Perplexity for like research. I use Grammarly a lot too for writing, just to
Yep.
help kind of clean things up. So I'm testing a lot right now, and so there's not a normal workflow with it yet, but I think that's going to happen really soon.
Yeah. And so you were you like hesitant to start using AI, or was that something that you're just like, yeah, I need to try this out?
So I've always been a tech early adopter, and so I'll start playing around with stuff when I first hear about it. But I think my adoption has been a little bit slower with it, just because
Yeah.
it seems so volatile and almost like a bubble. And the results were different than what's been promised. So it's like, oh, it can do anything and everything. Well, okay, not quite yet. Some things are getting good results, others not so much. So again, kind of like hiring, you got to inspect what you expect. You can't just pass it all off and think, oh, it's done. You got to train these different AI tools to either write in your voice or to pull out the kind of information that you're looking for. So there's both a hesitancy and an excitement around it, but also being realistic with it.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly similar to you because for me too, it's really been the last year that I think AI has really jumped ahead. Whereas now you still have to train it, but I mean it's come a long way. You can really make it do some really cool stuff, and
Yeah.
I can just imagine where it's going to be in the next year, right?
Yeah. It's getting wild.
Yeah, yeah, it is a little scary, and I think that that might be kind of a blessing for those of us who do want to play with it right now, because I think a lot of people are hesitant to go, oh no, I'm not going that direction. But I mean, this tool is a very powerful tool. I mean, it's like
Mhm.
going from, you know, carrying it one brick at a time to having a wheelbarrow or a truck, right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden, like you've got so much productivity if you can use these tools properly.
Mhm.
So I think that people who do are going to get ahead quite quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And like anything with new technology, there's going to be opportunities and downside too. It's going to change the work landscape quite a bit, which I mean, for the most part, I think that's good because we're not stagnant. Nothing stays still. And although some people wish that it would, but that's just not how the world works.
Yeah. And so a lot of people said that maybe it's going to be taking jobs and all that kind of stuff. However, I think what it's doing in my world is that it's making the people who have small businesses, solopreneurs, it's making them far more efficient and able to compete with much larger companies. So I think the jobs that it might take will be the jobs from those big Goliath companies and transferring them to people who are working at home or want to be self-employed. What would you think about that?
I think it's too early to tell. We've been in this information economy for many years now, and that's progressing even faster. But a lot of these jobs that people are doing, they will get displaced.
Mm,
But I think anytime that happens, there's opportunities for something else. The things that I feel like AI is not good at yet, and maybe never will be, is that creativity.
yeah.
Because it's great at analyzing information and what's already been done and finding more efficient ways to do it. But that more artistic side of things, that's something that has never been done before, something that's off the wall. That's just a different way of thinking. So I think that'll be really hard for AI to duplicate. Could be wrong. But as of now, that's kind of where I see the opportunity lies in just that more creative thinking and not
Yeah.
just finding more efficient processes.
I totally agree. And that's what I'm seeing in my area when I try to get it to do something, you have to be very specific about what you're asking it to do. You have to use
Mhm.
your own creativity to get it to do. It
Yeah.
just doesn't get it. Get it to draw an image and you'll see, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is where I think the biggest opportunity is right now for those coming out of school or looking for a new job opportunity is an AI prompt engineer, someone
Mm.
who knows how to ask the right questions, who can utilize it and manipulate it to get the results that you want so that it is more efficient, takes less time, but you got to be able to ask the right questions in order to get the results that you want. And I think
It's
that
funny that you
that's the
say that.
drawback right now.
AI prompt engineer. I'm going to use that because I feel like that's what I've been doing for some of my clients. Is I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to sit in between you and what you want,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to use AI to translate what you're saying into what we need it to do. So I like that AI prompt engineer.
Yeah, because I mean, there's so many possibilities that you can do with it, and you get so many different results based on the question or the type of query that you ask. Just
Yeah.
changing like one word will change the entire result, which is pretty wild.
Let's talk a little bit about learning from the best, about masterminds, coaches. Are you a kind of person that actually, participates in any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah, I've been a voracious reader my entire life, and I'm constantly learning, growing, and evolving and trying to up my game. So your own brain has capacity to do or understand or create. But then there's a different dynamic when you're in a room with other entrepreneurs and other creatives and people that are doing things that are further ahead of you on the path of business or entrepreneurship. And I've heard it said, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And so I really enjoy being the dumbest person in the room so that I can learn from all of those other people that are way more intelligent than me, that think very differently than me, and have had a lot of success, a lot more success than me as well. And I definitely attribute that to a lot of my success in business over the years.
So do you like change mastermind groups quite often, or do you sort of have this one that you've been sticking with?
Yeah, there's one that I've been involved with for many years called Baby Bathwater, the Baby Bathwater Institute. I've been part of it for like 10 years. And so it's been an amazing group of incredible conscious entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things in the world. So that's one that I've been with for a long time. I've gone back and forth on different others where every year I'll kind of just evaluate and say, hey, am I getting anything from this? Is it valuable? Is there an ROI on it? Or do I look at going a different route or trying others out? So
Hmm.
it's kind of an evaluation process every year.
So you think it's okay to be part of more than one mastermind at the same time?
I am because you're going to get different things from different ones. I'm in another one called Frontier Club that is all men. So, and it's international. There's guys from all over. And so you get different ideas and outlooks because I've been in the health and wellness space for a long time. There's some specifically in those industries. And then I'm also in one that's e-commerce specific. You get different things from different groups. And
Right.
so you're also limited on time. So it's kind of pick and choose. But just where I am in my own business, I love learning and collecting new information and then passing that on to my team to implement and prioritizing things that can really help us grow.
Well, and I mean, in just about every industry, you do have to keep up on certain things. You do have to keep learning in certain areas of your business. And so it sounds to me like you sort of have different masterminds that are chosen for specific parts of your business or that your of your life that you want to grow.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I contribute to my own success is looking outside of my own industry, because it's really easy when everybody is in the same industry. It's like an echo chamber. You're all talking about the same things, doing the same things, just keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm.
But I love taking bits and pieces from here and here and here and kind of molding them to create something entirely new, better, and different. People don't want just the same thing, especially when you're creating products or services. They want something that's different and innovative. So I think differentiation is a big part of my success.
Love it. So I'm curious about your jam room. Like, what is it that your home office looks like?
Yeah, so I've worked from home almost exclusively since 2009. And so it's changed and evolved over the years. For me, I love having a stand-up desk, one that'll go up and down, because that gives me the flexibility where if I want to stand up, I can. Like if I'm in a longer meeting and just want to move my legs. In the past, I've had a treadmill with it as well. So like a treadmill
Wow.
desk. But then if I want to sit down like I am now, then I can do that. I like having things that inspire me. So I'm a big reader. I'll often have a bookshelf behind me. I'm actually working from a co-working space today, so you can't really see that here. But in my home office, I have a bookshelf with a lot of the books that I've read. I'm a huge sports fan, so I'll have like some pictures and pennants and things like that for Cincinnati Bengals and Cincinnati Reds, which are my two favorite teams. Um, Having a larger computer monitor, so if I'm doing more detailed work, that I can see that. Maybe like a speaker if I want to play music. So it all just depends on, I think for each person, what works for them. I think having it relatively soundproof, it's probably not going to be possible to have it totally soundproof, but like, if you're podcasting or on a lot of calls and you need quiet and doing more detailed work, having the ability to do that without outside noise, especially if you have kids or there's other people running around. But I think that's important too.
Do you find that working from home, there's a lot of distractions and it's easy to get kind of sidetracked from what you're trying to do?
One of the things that I found for me personally is when I get out of my home office and go to like a coffee shop to work or a co-working space, I often get new hits of creativity, or sometimes I can be a little bit more productive because it's almost like there's other things going on outside of me or outside of just like my little workspace. And that, so I have to more intentionally focus because of those potential distractions, or those distractions
Oh.
can be good as well. So like I see a friend and say hi, or I'm thinking about something and bounce an idea off, as opposed to when I'm just like in my home office and just zoned in, where it's can kind of get a little monotonous. So, I mean, everybody's a little bit different, but I find that I'm often more successful or have a more productive day when I get out of just like that zoned in space and go somewhere else. If I have just a ton of meetings, then I'm working from home. If it's a little bit more free flowing and maybe like one or two calls, but then I'm just like working on a project or researching or writing, then getting into a different environment can help with the creativity.
Nice. I never thought of it that way. I thought that the reason why I would get those hits of inspiration in a coffee shop was because I was around other creative people that were being successful. But I like what you're saying because I think it probably is that where you've got so much noise going on out there that you've got to block it and now focus here. Whereas
Yeah.
you don't necessarily do that in your own home office, right?
I think it could be a combination of both. We're all wired so very differently.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, so it is time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
yeah, so right now, the biggest thing is just growing Wellnesse. So we're a B Corp certified brand of all natural oral care and skincare products. And we primarily focus in the oral care space. So really just growing that. We make the cleanest, most efficacious oral care products, primarily toothpaste on the market. So we don't use the toxic ingredients that so many others do, like fluoride and sodium lauryl sulfate. We use hydroxyapatite, which is a naturally occurring mineral that your enamel is made from. And so our toothpaste helps to whiten and remineralize your teeth. Putting into one, it helps to repair those. So I'm just excited to grow it and get it in the hands of more people. We're just over 5 years old now. And we've only scratched the surface of possibilities just because the market is so big. So I'm just excited to get cleaner products in the hands of people and help
Well,
them to improve their lives.
Seth, I'm super interested in this because I'm always looking for better, more healthy products. And when it
Yeah.
comes to toothpaste, let's talk about that one because you mentioned it.
Mhm.
Is there a brand in a grocery store right now that actually is healthy for you?
There are some that are better for you, but none that are as good as ours. I'll put my entire business reputation on the line to say this. We're primarily direct to consumer right now. So on our website, wellnesse.com, Thrive Market, Amazon, we're in a few small specialty retailers but we work with a lot of holistic and biological dentists. But to answer your question, in the big grocery stores, most of what you're seeing are the bigger, older, more established players, the Crest, the Colgate. And you'll see some that are a little bit better for you, like David's, Tom's, some of those. Some of them, they won't have fluoride, but they don't have those much more beneficial ingredients that we use. So it's a nice half step better, but it's not to the same extent that ours is. And
Yeah,
we're a lot more, we're more expensive because our ingredients are more expensive and better for you, cost more.
well, I certainly get that. So I use Tom's, and I've found that I think it's the best one I can find in there, and is
Mhm.
actually more expensive than Colgate and Crest and all that stuff. But I think it's worth it. This is
Yeah,
your health, right?
exactly. What you put on your body, you're putting in your body.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how this works. So if I want to buy from you, where do I go to get it, first of all?
Yeah, you just go to wellnesse.com, Wellnesse, wellness with an E on the end.
Okay.
And all of our products are there. We offer subscriptions and one-time purchases. And we're constantly coming out with new products to help improve people's lives.
Do you recommend buying it? Is there a lot of shipping costs and all that stuff, or how does that work?
Yeah, shipping costs are always changing just based on what the rates are and where it's going. So I always recommend buying in bulk. So and buying more
Yeah.
so it's going to last you, especially for things that you're using every day. It's like when you go to the grocery store, you're probably not buying one roll of paper towels or toilet paper. You're going to buy a big pack of them.
Yeah.
I recommend doing that with your personal care product as well, so that you have it. And so if you run out, you're like, I'm out of toothpaste, got to go get something else. And then if it's not at the store, you're waiting for it to be shipped.
Yeah. I used to, when I was in high school, I used to work as a stock shelfer, a shelf stalker. And
Okay.
so I've got a system. I buy in bulk, have everything over there, and then I keep on like stocking the shelves for the kids and my
Yeah.
family to use. So yeah, buying in bulk makes perfect sense to me. I do that already at the grocery store, but buying online in bulk would save you the shipping, I imagine, right?
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely getting a better value there. And anytime you're buying more, you're going to get a discount too. And there's a reason why Costco and Sam's Club and Thrive Market and all of these bigger stores, they do so well
Yeah,
because you're buying in bulk, so you're able to save money and just the purchasing power and economies of scale.
right on. So are you finding that there's a shift towards consumers moving in the direction of healthier options?
100%. I mean, we've seen this so much over the past few years, and even just the competition that's happening in the oral care space now, in the holistic oral care space. Because when we started, there were not many companies there was a few that were fluoride free, but not many that were hydroxyapatite based that has all the benefits of tooth remineralization and just the natural whitening power, the ingredients that we were using. But every day there's more competitors that are coming up. So it's growing and growing because people just realize that the products that we've been using for so many years, they're not that healthy for us. There's a big reason why we're seeing so many incidences of cancer and autoimmune disease and things like that. It's because what we're putting on our body is not great for us. And so
Yeah.
consumers are becoming a lot more aware and asking the questions of what is this ingredient? I can't pronounce that. What is it?
Yeah. I had a big like aha there a few years ago when I started to actually read the labels and realized that at the grocery store there's very few products, both healthcare and even in the health section that have like real ingredients. That it's depressing, really.
There's a supreme lack of transparency
Mm.
in the product space because these big companies for so many years, like, oh, well, we're the experts, so you should trust us, and this is fine for you. And then it comes out that these ingredients that are in these products are not actually good for you. So I think it's good that we're asking these questions and saying, what's in this product? If it's going into my home, is it safe? Is it healthy? Not just, does it make that company money that's selling it?
Yeah, I agree. And I find it so kind of messed up in a way that we give them all the passes so easily too. It's just like, oh, that was killing us. And then it's just
Yeah.
like we would just move on and
Yeah, it's what's interesting, especially in the food space. So we have an organic certification in the US and in Canada.
yeah.
In the EU, everything is organic unless it specifies that it's not. So we have it
Wow.
backwards here. I mean, our
Wow.
soil, our air, our water, everything is so messed up just because of all these toxic chemicals that we've been putting in there for so many years. Our soil, with the amount of glyphosate that is in it, is just so bad. We're not getting as many nutrients and minerals, and just the bioavailability of our food is so much less because we've done so many things to destroy our soil and our water and our air.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you so much for what you do then.
We do.
Great. Good. So tell us again how we find out more about you. If anybody wanted to connect with you directly, is there a
Yeah.
way they can do that?
You can go to sethspears.com, and I've got links to all my social media and everything there, and some of my musings on business and life and philosophy. And that's probably the best place.
Awesome. And you can also go to Wellnesse with a E at the
Wellnesse.
end.
Yep. Wellness.
Thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Seth. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
Awesome. To the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.